welcome back to Homemade Simple. If we've not met before, I'm Lori and this is Lane. I love to share videos each week helping you on your homemaking and frugal living journey. Today we are at Aldi and I'm really excited to share with you an extreme grocery budget challenge. I'm going to try to feed my family all week for $50 or less. I'm really hopeful that we can get this done, but I think in today's economy especially, $50 is really going to be stretching the budget pretty tight. So I'm hopeful that we can find some good deals when we go inside. I have the meal plan all planned out, but I'm also very willing to make some changes as I go if I can find some better alternatives to make this budget work. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Let's run in and get started getting these groceries. I tried to make this a relevant menu for the spring season that we're in. So I did include several salad options this week, as well as a couple of soups. That's also going to help keep the budget as low as possible. I'm hoping that using inexpensive ingredients multiple times during the week will really help keep the budget as low as possible. So I'm in the produce section. I'm gonna grab some of the salad ingredients and then we'll head on to the grocery items. When I was building my meal plan, I was really trying to focus on whole foods as much as possible. I know a lot of extreme grocery plans have a lot of processed and pre-made and convenience foods because unfortunately those are the foods that are the least expensive in the stores. But I think long term, if we can learn how to make our own foods and prepare our meals from scratch, I think that that will be much better in the long run, and we can still really save money week by week and have a low budget and still have really good whole foods as much as possible. So you'll notice that a lot of the recipes that I have chosen for this week's meal plan are based on whole foods that I prepare in different ways throughout the week. That's really important when you're building your frugal meal plans, is to try to find the least expensive ingredients that you can, but source them as whole as you possibly can as well. So we are going to have some processed items, but we're not going to have an entire buggy full of them. And I think that in the long run, our bodies will work better if we are running on whole foods as much as possible, as well as our meal plans will work out long term to our benefit. So I am going to buy ingredients like flour and brown sugar and use them in creating my own breads and crackers so that we can have well-rounded meals, but also stay away from the processed ingredients that we often find at the grocery store. I am going to try to include all of the ingredients that you're going to need for each of the recipes in this meal plan, but there are a few that I think most of you are going to have on hand, so I'm not going to include them in the grocery haul and I'm not going to include them in the overall price. One of those ingredients is yeast. I have a huge container of yeast from Sam's that is $4 for 2 pounds. It's really inexpensive and I'm assuming that most of you already have some yeast available at your home, but if you don't, 79 cents for a 3-pack will get you by this week, but then it's really best if you go ahead and spend a little extra at the front end and buy a large bulk container at your local Sam's Club. Well, I seem to always hit a snag here at the meat department. Obviously, meat is going to be the most expensive part of our meal plan, and so we really have to be careful about the meats that we choose. I did prepare for one whole chicken and that be used in multiple meals, and so I'm looking for the best deal, and I'm going to go check in the frozen section and see what I can find. I do need the bones because I need some chicken stock, but we'll just see what we can come up with. I'm not going to just derail my entire meal plan quite yet, but that might happen in a second. I came over to the frozen section. There really was no options that were any better over here, but it's just like a week or so after Easter, so I think that is the explanation here, but there are some deals that might really help save my budget. So I'm thinking that maybe if I can tweak my recipes and my meal plans to include ham instead of chicken, that might be the best option and that might be the best way to go. So I'm gonna take a second, look at my meal plan and see what kind of adjustments I can make, and then I will come back to the decision about what protein to use. Okay, I think I have found the solution to my problem. This bone-in ham is marked down to 71 cents a pound, which is gonna make it just a little over $4 for this 6-pound ham. That is really gonna help because I can put away the sausage that was $2.20, and also it can be used in the chicken recipes. It also has that ham bone, which I can use to make the broth for the things that I needed the chicken stock for. So this is really gonna help me to save a lot on the protein portion of our budget. Well, I think I've gotten everything on my list. I think I'm under $50 for the entire week, breakfast, lunch, and dinners for my family of 6. Now, sometimes some of the girls don't eat with us, so that might fluctuate a little throughout the week, but I prepare for 6 people most of the time. I'm going to go and check out. I'll give you a grand total at the end, but I'm really thinking that the ham being on such a great sale has really saved this $50 budget. Excited. I got everything on my list for $48.29 before tax. So that is, I mean, like, I could have bought a couple more things with those $2. Count in the free buggy that we got, it was $48.04. So that is a total win. I think feeding a family for $50 is absolutely incredible to do these days. So I'm excited to share these recipes with you. Let's get these groceries home and let's start cooking. Now that I'm home, there's a lot of things that I need to do on the front end of this week's meal plan to get some of the ingredients prepped and ready for the different meals. So the first thing I'm going to do is to dice up this ham into smaller pieces so that it will be easy to deal with as it's time to make each of the meals. I went ahead and cooked 6 cups of rice in 12 cups of water, and I added a tablespoon of salt. I went ahead and cooked this up ahead of time because we're going to use some of the rice for lunches, and also we're going to have some rice in different dinners. So there's a little bit of rice left if I run out, but I went ahead and made enough to last. That way, whenever we need it, it will already be ready to use. Now that the rice is done, I'm going to remove it from the Instant Pot, and I'm going to put the ham bone in to make our broth. I have the ham bone and a little bit of the meat that I cut off. I've put it in the Instant Pot to pressure cook that, press broth. It'll cook for 2 hours. That's gonna make really strong and tasty broth. This will cook while we're eating supper, and before bedtime, I will put it in the refrigerator. When I got home from the store this afternoon, I put together a loaf of bread. I'll put the recipe down below and also link it in the description. I made this with oats and flour and a few other ingredients. Super simple and easy to put together. It's going to make 2 loaves of bread for us to have this week. I've got plenty of extra ingredients. If I need to make more, I can, but I'm going to allow this to have a second rise in the pans before I bake them. Hopefully I can get that done before bedtime. I was so happy with how this bread turned out. I had to sort of adjust my normal bread loaf recipe, but this turned out really good. I'm hoping that it tastes as good as it looks. It's breakfast time, and for this meal plan, I have decided to prepare oatmeal for my family each morning. My family is normally pretty self-sufficient. It's really, I'm responsible for fixing mine and Lane's, and Chris's breakfast, the girls handle their own. But I'm just going to make oatmeal along and along throughout the week as we need it. So I'm going to make 2 servings of oatmeal right now. The package that I purchased breakfast will make 30 servings of oatmeal, so there's plenty to get everybody through until next week's grocery trip. Oatmeal is super easy to make. It is always a 2-to-1 ratio. So for 2 servings, I'm going to use 1 cup of oatmeal and 2 cups of water. I like to add a pinch of salt. That's completely optional. The most challenging part about making oatmeal for me is putting it in a bowl that's big enough so that it doesn't expand and explode over the bowl while it's cooking in the microwave. I'm going to add 1/4 cup packed brown sugar. The budget didn't allow for nuts or raisins, but that's a really good addition to oatmeal. Also, you could dice up some of the apples that we bought this week and put them in the oatmeal. That will really help. If you have some cinnamon, that is a really good spice to add to your breakfast. It helps with blood sugar. There's a lot of other good benefits of using cinnamon. So if you have some of that, add that to your oatmeal and try that. But I hope you enjoy your breakfast this morning. Let's get on to our lunches. It's almost time for lunch, and I'm about to make some beans in the Instant Pot for us to have some rice and beans for our lunchtime meal. I wanted to go over a couple of things that I didn't want to forget later on in the video. I've been meaning to say this for quite a while, but it always slips my mind until it's editing time and it's too late. So I wanted to make sure that I reminded you, if you are watching this video because you are really in a difficult place and you are struggling week after week and there's no increase in your grocery budget after a couple of weeks or a month or so. If that is you and you are really struggling to make ends meet, please check down in the description box below. There are tons of resources for different food banks. I encourage you to go and check those food banks out. Those resources are there exactly for the need that you have at the moment. Don't go hungry and don't try to stretch yourself further than you can. There's no disadvantage to you going to the food bank and asking for their help, and then one day you will be able to return that favor to another family who is struggling, and you will be able to be on both ends of that wonderful process of neighbors helping neighbors. Also, if you have an abundance of either from your garden or you are able to provide extra for your neighbors, please buy a little extra in the grocery store and send it to your local food bank. That food is really a lifeline for a lot of people, and I think it's really good for us to use some of our resources to help our neighbors. I'm going to go and make these beans for lunchtime, and then we'll get busy working on our dinner plans for tonight and for the rest of the week. I'm gonna go ahead and cook the entire bag of black beans. That way they'll all be done and ready whenever I need them. I filled up my Instant Pot halfway with water. This is a 32-ounce package of black beans. I'm just gonna pour them into the Instant Pot. I'm gonna add about a tablespoon of salt. I'll turn the pressure valve on, and I'm gonna press bean and take keep warm off. It'll start automatically, so in less than an hour, all of these beans should be ready to go. The first recipe we're gonna have this week is just a real simple, quick and easy breakfast casserole. There's not a lot of ingredients, which really is going to be key on any kind of budget meal plan. The fewer ingredients, the cheaper the overall cost. I'm gonna start with 6 eggs. I'm gonna scramble them with 1 cup of milk. I'm also gonna add half a teaspoon of salt and a couple of shakes of pepper. I'll scramble those together. I'm gonna set that to the side. I have an 8x8 casserole dish. I'm going to add 1 cup of shredded cheddar cheese. I'm going to add a heaping cup of ham, and then I'm going to pour the eggs on top. This is gonna be a protein-packed meal. The good thing about protein is it will stay with you longer than carbs. It's not something that you just eat and then in 30 minutes you're hungry again. I'm gonna put this in a 400-degree oven. I'm I'm gonna cook it for about 30 minutes and then we'll see how set the eggs are. We just wanna cook it until the eggs have set well. I diced up some apples to go with our breakfast casserole tonight. This really is going to be a nice filling dinner at a really inexpensive cost. I have a super quick and easy dinner idea for you to fit into our $50 grocery budget this week. It could not get any simpler. You can use a stock pot or whatever you have, but I'm gonna add 2 large cans of crushed tomatoes, 2 bags of mixed vegetables. I'm going to rinse my tomato cans out with water. I'm going to put probably about a teaspoon, maybe 2 of pepper, about a teaspoon of Italian seasoning. If you don't have Italian seasoning, just really whatever seasoning you do have, it will work. Probably 2 teaspoons, maybe a tablespoon of salt. This simple soup is going to simmer all afternoon. It's going to taste delicious. It's going to be nice and filling as well as very healthy and nutritious. I'm going to put this in the oven on 300 degrees all afternoon. I was thinking I would make some quick saltine crackers. I've never made saltine crackers, but I have a recipe for sourdough crackers. If you would like to make those this week, I will link that here. I'm going to make just regular saltine crackers this time and see how that works. It's always good to sort of explore and try new things. So that's what I'm gonna do here. If it's a fail, well, we'll just chalk it up to a lesson learned. This is going to require that you have some baking powder. So if you have that in your spice drawer or in your pantry, you can try this week. Otherwise, you can just sort of store this recipe away for another time. I figure most of you do have the baking powder available to you, so that's why I'm going to go ahead and include that in the video this week. I'm going to start with 2 cups of all-purpose flour, and to that I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1/2 teaspoon of salt. I'll mix the dry ingredients together. Then I'm going to add 2/3 cup of water and 1/3 cup of butter. I think I'll use my trusty pastry blender to blend the butter and water into the flour. I probably should have blended the butter into the flour before I added the water. Live and learn. Okay, now I can just use my fingers, I think. I've kneaded the dough until it's well combined and no longer sticks to my fingers. I'm going to separate this into 2 pieces. That way it'll be easier to roll out. Using a rolling pin, I'm just going to roll this to about an 1/8 inch thickness. Okay, I have rolled it out and squared it off. Now I'm just going to cut them in as close to a square as I can. If you call things rustic, people don't expect perfection. I'm going to sprinkle them with a little bit of salt. Press that in a little. I'm going to put these in my preheated oven at 450 degrees. I'm going to start baking them for about 8 minutes. I'll check them, but once they brown, I think that will be indicating they're done. It actually took about 20 minutes for these to cook through, but they were delicious. This soup tasted so good. It actually tasted exactly like Campbell's vegetable soup. The next thing we're gonna make is a broccoli, rice, and ham casserole. I'm gonna make my own sauce. Instead of using like cream of chicken, I made some broth out of this ham bone that I got. So I'm just going to use some of the broth and create a slurry. 1/3 cup flour and 1 cup of broth. Before I turn the heat on, I'm just going to sort of whisk this together. This is going to keep it from clumping. I'll add about a teaspoon of salt and then turn on the heat and let this thicken up. This is just going to help sort of be that creaminess in the casserole dish without us having to buy the canned cream of chicken soup. It's thickening up pretty quick. This has probably taken about 3 minutes or so. I'm gonna take it off of the heat and then put the rest of the ingredients together. I've got my broth and cream mixture thickened up. I'm gonna have to mix all of this up in this pot. I don't know what happened to my big bowl, but we'll work on finding that later. So I'm gonna add 1 cup of cheese. Just sort of eyeball it. I have a bag of frozen broccoli florets. I'm gonna add that entire bag. I'm gonna add 2 cups of ham, 3 cups of cooked rice, 1 cup of milk, 2 teaspoons of salt, and 1 teaspoon of black pepper. I'm gonna mix this together until it's well combined. I have a 13 by 9 pan. I'm gonna cook this in. So I'm just gonna pour all of the ingredients in there. I'm gonna top this with another cup of cheese. I'll bake this in a 350-degree oven for about 30 minutes until everything is heated through. I think this is gonna make a really good dinner. I cooked the broccoli casserole for about 25 minutes at 350, and then I broiled it for another 5 minutes or so to give it that browning on top. I think it turned out really good, and I did sneak a taste. It tastes really good too. The next dinner we're going to make is a chef salad, and this ham already being chopped up is gonna make this a super quick dinner idea. All we have to do is clean and chop our vegetables, and then we'll be ready to eat. I have 3 tomatoes. I decided to go with the Roma tomatoes this week because they were 80 cents a pound instead of $1.25 a pound for the larger vine ripe tomatoes. I'm gonna dice them up real quick. We have 3 heads of lettuce for 2 salad meals that I have planned for this week. So I think what I'm gonna do is save this one for our corn chip salad, and then I will cut these up for our chef salad tonight. Also, to go in our chef salad, I bought a bag of spinach. This is already washed, ready to go. And I also have some shredded cheese that I had shredded previously, so that's ready to go. All of our ingredients are here, so now we can build our salad. I do have some of the bread that I had made earlier this week. I can either make croutons out of this, or I think what I will do is just toast it a little in the oven and then just have it on the side of our salad. But if you want to make your own croutons out of your bread, just sort of slice it up, leave it out during the day, put a little bit of butter or oil on it and some seasonings, and cook it until it is completely dried, and that will get you some homemade croutons. To build our salad, just gonna start with some of the spinach and add some lettuce. I'll put maybe 1/4 cup of ham and the same amount of tomatoes. Sprinkle it with some cheese. And then I have bought this French dressing for our corn chip salad. I was also going to use this for our garden salad. But if you're anything like me, you have several different bottles of salad dressing in your refrigerator. So you just choose which one you like the best. I really do like this California French dressing. It is pretty good. It's time to make supper for tonight, and we are going to have a really yummy broccoli and cheddar soup. We can have it with some of our bread that we made earlier in the week, or we can also have some of the saltine crackers that I made earlier. Either way, I think this is going to be a delicious dinner that's going to be quick and easy to put together, and also nice and satisfying. I'm gonna take 1/2 cup of flour and mix it in with 2 cups of milk to create a slurry to make sure that this is a nice and thick soup. I've melted 1/2 stick of butter in my large Dutch oven, and now I'm going to pour this slurry into the Dutch oven. I'm going to stir it and keep it stirred. This is going to be a thickening base for this soup, just to make sure that it's not too thin. I'm going to add quite a bit of stock, so I don't want it to turn out really runny. I'm just gonna cook this, stirring it frequently, probably for about 3 minutes until it begins to thicken. I had to change to a little heftier of a whisk. It is thickening up really nice. Now I'm going to add our ham stock. I'm going to add about 10 cups of broth. Now I'm going to take my 2 bags of frozen broccoli and add them to the Dutch oven. Now I'm going to place the lid on the pot and allow this broccoli to cook for probably 10 minutes or so before I add the other ingredients. I've cooked the broccoli for about 10 minutes. I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of salt, 1 teaspoon garlic powder, and 1 teaspoon of pepper. I have grated 8 ounces of sharp cheddar cheese. I'm going to add that to the soup. Stir that in real good. I'm going to continue to let this cook for at least 30 minutes, stirring it pretty frequently just to make sure that nothing starts sticking or burning on the bottom. I don't like how thin this soup still is, so I think that I have not gotten the ratio quite right since I added so much broth. So I have taken out 1.5 cups of the soup liquid and I've added 1/2 cup more of flour. I've mixed it up so it's nice and thick. I'm gonna pour it back in here and then I'm going to try to stir it in to incorporate it really well. Maybe that will do the trick to thicken it up some. We'll just let this simmer for a while longer and see how it goes. This soup is really going to have plenty of staying power. If you would like, you can put it on top of rice or add some rice to the soup, and that would give it a few more carbs and a few more calories per serving. I think you're really gonna like this recipe, so I hope you'll give it a try. When you're working on a really tight budget, making breakfast meals for dinner is really a good way to keep the costs as low as possible. So tonight for dinner, we are going to have what my mom used to refer to as egg in a hole. I know there's a ton of other names for it. Egg in a basket, sunny side up egg, all kinds of different things, but I'm going to make 6 slices to use up my last 6 eggs. There should be plenty of ingredients this week for you to make as much bread as your family needs. I have used 2 loaves of bread minus this amount. This week we have been eating on it. So if you need more, those ingredients should be plentiful enough for you to have all that you need. I'm just gonna take some softened butter. I've just had this butter out of the refrigerator for a while, and I'm going to butter both sides of each piece of bread. I'm gonna turn on my iron skillet to medium heat. I'm gonna put a small amount of butter on the skillet, and then I'm gonna finish buttering the bread. If your family would prefer to have something like French toast, you should also have the ingredients for that for one dinner. So there are options. Even though our budget is really tight, there are plenty of options to make adjustments. I have the bread buttered, and so now I've got them all stacked on top of one another, so they're pretty much even. And I'm going to use this sharp serrated knife to cut all the way down into all of the slices, and I'm trying to make like a square or a rectangle. This is the hole that we're going to cook the egg in. I've got the skillet heated, the butter is melted, so I'm going to bring 2 slices of bread. We'll put the holes on either side, and then we're just gonna take an egg and crack 1 egg into each of the holes. Sprinkle it with a little salt and pepper if you desire. This is always the part that I struggle the most with, so let's see how we do. The goal is to flip it and it all stay in one piece. Let's pretty good. Let's see how I do this one. Okay, that's what you're looking for. I'm gonna go ahead and flip bread pieces. You can salt this side as well. Depending on how you like your eggs cooked will depend on how long you cook them. I like my eggs a little runny, so I will cook them for less time for me than like for Lane. And there we go. That's gonna be a nice and satisfying dinner without a lot of effort and certainly minimal cost. I'm really excited about this last dinner I have to share with you. This is a corn chip salad. It is perfect for spring and summertime evenings when you've been outside, you don't want a heavy meal before bed, but you're really hungry and you want something quick and easy to put together. I have this head of lettuce that is left from our package of lettuce that we purchased at Aldi. I'm gonna chop it up as well as the remaining tomatoes that I bought. And I'm going to shred the last half of the block of cheese that I have. So I'm gonna go do that and I will be right back. Okay, I cut up the lettuce. Now I'm going to add the other ingredients. This is probably about a cup, maybe a cup and a half of shredded cheese, 2 Roma tomatoes, I've got 2 cups of these black beans that I have cooked. I've rinsed them. I'm gonna add that and I'm gonna stir all of this together. I broke my large glass bowl that was really good for things like this, so now I'm stuck with trying to find an appropriate size bowl and I just don't have one, so I'm gonna be on the lookout for one of those. Until then, you'll just have to be patient with me and just pretend that this is not packed full to the brim. This is what you want to do before you're ready to eat. And after you've called everybody to the table and you're a minute or 2 before you start eating, you want to add these next 2 ingredients. So we have some corn chips. I mean, add the whole bag, but my small bowl won't fit. And we have this California style French dressing that is the best part of this meal. So add about half of this container, that's about 8 ounces. And then gently stir that together. If you have any ham left over from the ham that we have used in the other meals, feel free to put some of that in here as well, but you should have plenty of protein with these black beans and cheese that are included. I think you're really gonna like this dinner. This is what I almost lived on while I was pregnant with Lane. It was something that I craved all of the time, and it's a happy memory, and I'm sure that you're gonna enjoy it as well. I'm really glad that you're here today. I hope that you will share this video with anyone that you know who might could use some of these ideas to help feed their family on a lower budget. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, I hope that you will consider doing that. That would really mean a lot to me, and it will help me so much to get these videos out to more people to help them feed their families on lower budgets as well. So be sure to share some of your family's favorite frugal, budget-friendly meal ideas in the comments below. I always get so much good feedback and so many wonderful ideas from y'all. Well, I'm really glad that you were here today. I love you. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I will see you again next time.